In this video, we are covering 11 different types of home inspections that can be done on homes. It's not all the types, but they're the 11 most common, what those inspections are for, and what do you actually need to spend the money on for all the extra bells and whistles, or which ones can you skip. $700 or $800 home inspections can be overkill depending on the house, depending on the area, depending on a lot of different things. We're going to dig into that. Now, that said, I don't think it's overkill to have multiple inspections performed, and most people do. I've attended over 1,000 inspections in my 23-year real estate career, and have read thousands of reports, and this one area you don't want to be cheap in. Story time. About 10 years ago, I had a young kid that was buying his first home. Loved that. He shopped until he found the rock bottom inspection price of $175. That's what the inspector was charging. The inspection started on a Saturday at 10 a.m. and ended at 10:45 a.m. The house had a detached garage, and I asked, "Are you going to go look at it?" He looked out the window and he said, "It's brick. It's fine." I said, "Oh. Are you going to go into the attic? You only popped your head in there at best." I mean, he didn't even go further than his shoulder. And he said he didn't see anything to cause alarm and cause him to go up there. He said the report would be over in an hour, and I said, don't bother. We've got another inspector on the way. I already called another guy. My guy found a $5K mold problem because the new roof was incorrectly installed and the sellers agreed to remediate it fully. You get what you pay for. By the way, my guy was only $400 at the time, and a mold problem not caught could have been 20 or 30K in damage over time. We're going from broad to niche with this list of inspections, and here we go. First up, general home inspections. And this inspection is to protect you, the buyer, is exactly what you think it is. A home inspector's primary areas of focus are going to be structural, roof, walls, foundation, exteriors like doors, windows, brick and vinyl siding, electrical systems like the main panel, circuit breakers, wirings, checking the ground fault interrupter plugs, plumbing systems including pipes, fixtures, and hot water heaters, HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And the caveat on this one, inspections on AC units can only be done at or above 60 degrees, or it can actually damage the unit. Insulation and ventilation on the roof is a big one, where we see the most mold occurring, and built-in appliances like stoves, ovens, and dishwashers. Okay, that's a lot, but it ain't everything. Next up, we're going to niche down into some of the specific inspections. FHA and VA home inspections, these are not for you. These are to protect the bank as their legal requirement. And here's what they inspect straight from the Chase Bank website. It must have an undamaged exterior, undamaged foundation, undamaged roof, must have safe property access, no loose wiring, must have utilities on and functioning, must have a working furnace, must not have chipping paint. Yep, and it goes downhill from there. These are conducted by an appraiser, not a trained home inspector. I'm not trying to knock appraisers, but not even a little. But this should not be used as a replacement for a home inspection. City inspection, or what's sometimes called municipal inspection, these are also not for you, the buyer. It's to satisfy what the city council thinks, usually with a recommendation from building department as to what's important to inspect. A lot of cities in Metro Detroit and nationally require them, and typically what the city comes up with, like peeling paint, scraped and painted, electrical issues, some plumbing issues, HVAC issues, have to be fixed before the buyer can move in. They're not bad inspections. Often, I find them to be pretty good overall, as many city inspectors are retired tradesmen like electricians or construction workers, but again, they're limited in scope and the reports are not set up for easy use. Reach out to us for a list of all the cities in Metro Detroit that require them, or if you just want to ask if one does or doesn't. Let's niche down further. Next up, radon inspections. Now, if you own a home, you can still have this one done. First, what is it? Radon is a colorless, odorless gas that is literally the breakdown of radioactive elements, typically coming up from underground. Some pumps, being a hole in the ground, are a leading source of it. The EPA estimates that 1 in 15 homes in the U.S. have radon levels above the safe level of 4 rads per million, and that is a lot of homes. So what does it do? It's a carcinogen. It's the second highest cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking. And I've seen it as high here in Southeast Michigan, rating at an 85, and our East Coast friends like our Maine, Vermonts, and Connecticut's could be in the hundreds. To properly test it, a home inspector will drop off, usually in the basement, a radon testing machine that tests once an hour for 48 hours minimum. This helps account for spikes and airflow, like if someone opens a window and it's artificially low. It costs between $100 and $200 to get it done, and my bullet on this one is yes. If you own a home and you didn't get it tested on purchase, go to Home Depot and get a DIY kit just to test it. Be safe, my friends. And let me know in the comment section if you've had any of these 11 inspections done on your home when you bought the home and what the results were. Did you find radon? Did you find mold? Did you have septic issues? Did you think the inspectors were worth it? Why or why not? Next up, chimney inspections. Typically, a home inspector is not going to be the right guy to check this out, but we'll tell you if you should get the right guy, like a chimney sweep, to check it out. If you've got a gas fireplace that will direct vent outside, not necessary. For all wood fireplaces, I 100% advise getting a professional chimney sweep to inspect. So what do they look for? Mainly creosote buildup, Over time, repeated usage of a chimney will cause creosote buildup, which does two things. First, it's flammable, and over time, the flash point, or the point at which the chimney catches fire, goes lower and lower and lower, both by the buildup and actually by the second point, the lower down into the chimney it goes. So, a good chimney sweep is going to look for any blockages, any leaks, and any cracks that could cause not only fire, but carbon monoxide poisoning. Over 400 people die from CO2 poisoning in the US every year, and over 50,000 people go into the emergency room every year because of it. If you don't have at least 2 CO2 detectors in your home, buy them today. Sewer scope inspection. Now this one I would say is a yes, especially in areas with older homes like a Berkeley or a Royal Oak, a Fernvale, a Livonia, Westland, or Southgate, or Wyandotte, just to name a few. Now why? A sewer line running from your toilets and sinks all the way out to the road is your responsibility, and if it needs to be replaced because that beautiful tree in the front yard's root system is destroying it, and I've seen it, it happens, it can cost $12,000 to $25,000, and that tree's got to go too, by the way, so that's another cost by itself. Common high-dollar issues are potential pipe collapses, and if caught soon enough blockages, roots, and sediment can be removed every couple of years if the damage isn't too bad. Now, as an owner, I get mine scoped every couple of years. It's a couple $100 for the maintenance versus an over $10K replacement. I will take option A, the couple $100 of maintenance. New construction homes, you are not exempted. I've seen drywall debris and wood and just reckless installation cause lines to backfill back into the home that most of the time could have been prevented at the builder's cost, not your cost. Now let's nick down even further. Mold inspections. I don't mean to scare anyone, but an estimation by the EPA says that 70% of homes have some level of mold. Most of the time it's there, but the spores are not growing because of a lack of moisture. When found in batches, there are 2 negatives, health and structure. First, we want to find out if it's a health issue. There are 3 basic types that are: allergenic, which is usually causing asthma attacks by aggravating allergies; pathogenic, and this causes symptoms in people with immune system problems; and the really bad one, toxigenic. Now, these can cause issues even in the healthiest person. See the root word toxic in the term. A lab-done mold test costs between $100 and $400, but it's also fairly rapid, 2 to 4 days. Second, we gotta find the source of the moisture that's causing it to grow, because it's eating something. And before I scare you too much, bear in mind there are thousands of types of mold, and some of them, like penicillin, are actually life-saving. Asbestos inspection. Here's the quick and dirty. Before 1990, asbestos was used in a ton of building material because, frankly, it's cheap and it can be mined out of just about anywhere. It's heat resistant and it's durable, but it also causes cancer. Most commonly in homes, it was used to wrap furnace pipes to make it more efficient. Vermiculite insulation pre-fiberglass was also used in old floor tiles, and I've even seen sidings of homes being made out of asbestos. I called a home inspector and a doctor to learn a little bit more, and from what they say, the most common issue is when it's breathed in, which means broken up or disturbed. If there's insulation in the attic, both advise just leave it alone. If it's in your tile flooring in your basement, encapsulate it or have it professionally removed. Don't do it yourself. The asbestos tests run anywhere from $250 to $750 depending on the size and the scope. If you're finding value in this video, please hit the thumbs up button so more people can see it and use this information. And if you like the content, subscribe to the channel because we put out videos each and every week to help home buyers and home sellers, as well as info on Metro Detroit and the financial markets. Next up, pest inspections. Sometimes called termite inspections are actually not required in the northern states by FHA anymore because of the rarity of those little buggers, but still worth it. If you're getting a VA loan, it's required, and ask if your inspector is VA certified to fill out and submit to forms to the lender before you book them for an inspection. In the South, especially states like Florida, it's a matter of course for all homes to be inspected. And further, I'd ask your agent to ask for any house you offer on to get a copy of the pest maintenance records from the owner. Best case, they got the Orkin guy out regularly to do a spray and check. Well inspections. For my friends not on city water, some municipalities require it here in Metro Detroit and some don't. But if you have a well, you definitely want to get that water tested. A full well inspection will include the well cap and casing. These stop contaminants from going into the well, and a water test for bacteria, nitrates, lead, arsenic, pesticides, and in excess of minerals, again, lead. All nasty stuff except one. Coli forms sometimes and grows at the base of the well if it hasn't been used in months. If that one's the case, you'll have to shock the well, which is the process of adding chlorine in, letting it kill everything, and then running it out. I've actually done it myself before, and honestly, I'm not going to do it again. Next time I have to have it done, I'm going to hire a pro and get the water tested after to be sure you got all the chlorine out of the system as well as the coli. Septic inspections. Some cities and even some counties require it before buying a home. If you're not on city sewer, you've got a septic tank. And they get a bad rap out there, but I've seen them last for like 75 or even 85 years. A full inspection includes inspecting the tank, the field, and the ground, starting with taking off the cover, examining the intake, the output baffle, and partition wall. If there's a pump chamber, and some of those have alarms against backflow. Also, inspectors are going to look at the ground around a tank visually for signs the ground isn't absorbing the water, which is a sign that you might need an engineer field, which could cost tens of thousands of dollars to install. They're going to check to see that the tank is waterproof, that the wastewater is being distributed evenly across the field, and when being inspected, if you haven't owned one before, ask about how best to maintain that specific tank and field. They do require some work, including pump outs. If you don't maintain it, a $400 missed pump out can be a $20,000 replacement bill. Lead-based paint inspections. So homes built on or before January 1st, 1978, when it became illegal to use lead-based paint in homes, could have it. Lead itself is toxic. It has a slightly sweet taste that is especially harmful in children. Inspections are generally $250 to $700 and involves taking paint chips from each room down to the base drywall or plaster and then getting them tested. Per the EPA, encapsulation, aka painting the wall, is effective in taking out the risk of it for families, and in most homes, they've been painted many times since 1978, and you're probably going to want to paint the walls anyway before you move in. Now, that's not me advising for or against it, just stating what the EPA says. I had one done on the home I live in, take it for what it's worth. Now, we have covered a lot of ground in this video. Let me know any questions that you have about any of these 11 types of home inspections or any other types of inspections you may want to consider getting. My name is Mike Perno, local real estate agent for over 23 years here in Metro Detroit, and I would be honored to get the call to help you and your family purchase your next home or sell your current one. Thank you again. Don't forget to subscribe and make it a great day.